In today's video, we're going to be answering questions you guys have asked. How I shrunk my waist, how I grew my butt, macros for losing weight, macros for gaining weight, how to calculate your macros in general, how to fall in love with the journey, not just the results. And we're going to talk about a lot of other things. Yeah.
Without further ado.
So this one is a huge one. I get this question so much from TikTok, from Instagram, is how I shrunk my waist.
Mm-hmm. And is that?
And I brought here my personal trainer, the one that's been doing the programming, my diet, everything. And I brought him here so he can explain
First of all, you didn't bring me here. I'm here every single time we shoot this thing. Okay. So, first of all, I mean, how we shrunk your waist on what time frame? When you first?
Yes,
right
let's start
pregnancy?
from right after pregnancy. I'm going to show you guys what I look like when I was pregnant, and then when I was postpartum, and then when I started my fitness journey, which was 6 weeks postpartum.
Right. So when she first gave birth, she was going through identity issues. She didn't feel comfortable in her own skin. She always said she felt like she was wearing somebody else's body. So, coming into this, through that whole 6 weeks, I was planning out a program for how we were going to get her on track. And I had that dialed in and locked in on what we were going to do. And what we were going to do was we were going to focus on strength training and rebuilding her body. The first thing I knew that we needed to do was make sure there was no diastasis recti, which was making sure that we can, strengthen up her pelvic floor and re-strengthen up her core. But, as we started going through that process, we started reintroducing strength training, and then COVID hit. So we ended up having to get really, really creative. I was not prepared for that by any means, but we had to make do. So the plan was to, rebuild her metabolism, because I know, after women give birth, your metabolism is pretty much shot. So you go from, feeding and growing this baby to all of a sudden, you give birth, and then now you're producing breast milk. So you guys actually you're in this little area where you guys are actually, burning more calories because you guys are producing breast milk, but at the same time, your energy is zapped. You guys' appetite is kind of up and down. Some women's appetite is super low. Some women's appetite goes way, way up. So we had to kind of figure out where she was going to be during that time. And, you were struggling with breastfeeding.
Yeah.
So we had to account for breastfeeding. So typically when women are breastfeeding, they can burn anywhere from, 250 to 500 extra calories, depending on how much the baby is actually breastfeeding. So with our son, he was doing a lot of cluster feeding and things like that. So when I first set her calories, we set it for about, I think it was like 2,100.
Yeah, it was 2,100, 2,200.
Right.
And this is why a lot of us mamas in the beginning, we get really, really hungry. But the first instinct is you don't like your body. So what you're going to do is starve yourself.
Right. And that's the thing that needs to be addressed first and foremost. Because if you do start starving yourself, your supply is going to be shot. Your energy is going to be shot because you're not sleeping as much. So if you're not eating as much, if you're not eating as much, you're not sleeping as much. And then you go ahead and, you're being worn out by the baby. They're attached to you all the time, draining your energy. These things are going to lead you to just being really, really depleted. So we wanted to make sure that we could get the weight loss while having her still have her energy up as much as possible. I mean, there's no perfect way to do it. But, the main focus was making sure we get our steps in, walking every single day. So we wanted to get her to 10,000 steps every day. Yeah. So we were walking all around downtown to get this done. I mean, we had it on our calendar every day to get the walk in. And then we had her doing, we didn't have access to gyms. So typically, and what we do now is we have our women, using dumbbells and working out, but we had to use water bottles and get super creative. I think we stole a kettlebell from the gym at the apartment. But
we did.
Because of we stole a medicine ball. I think we stole a medicine ball and a kettlebell. I think we still have the kettlebell. But so we had to get creative, and I knew that we didn't have a lot of weight that we could use. So we ended up
using Tide detergent bottles. I am not even kidding. We used Tide. Those Tide detergent bottles is about 10
Well, a gallon of water is 10 pounds. So.
About those detergent bottles was about around 7-8 pounds.
Right, and we were using we had some ankle weights that went up to like 20 pounds. Didn't we?
Yeah.
So we were just using whatever we could find, but we were doing high intensity at the time because that's what we were forced to do. We didn't have a gym that we could use. Now, the best way to do it would be to use, just regular resistance training, strength training. But we had to do what we had to do at the time. And that's how we were able to get her weight down, was just focusing on producing a calorie deficit by activity and not by starvation. So there's a big difference. So a lot of people will be like, okay, I need to be in a calorie deficit, and they don't account for their daily activity. So when it comes to being a mom that's breastfeeding and then you're walking around and doing all those things, if you instantly go to 1,200 calories, 1,400 calories, that's going to be a calorie deficit if you were just sitting around. So if you're up on your feet walking around and stuff, now that calorie deficit is going to be much, much greater, which is going to lead to all the things we talked about before.
Yeah, especially if you're breastfeeding. Imagine just eating super low calorie and then you're breastfeeding another 500 calories that you're burning. You're starving yourself. That's why you feel so depleted.
Right. So we had to get in an area where we can be at a deficit. We wanted to be at a deficit at about 400 calories. So we started playing around with her calories until we were reaching a point where she was losing about 1 pound to 0.5 pound per week, which was the great area. You don't want to be in a situation where you're losing 2.5, 3 pounds a week. I mean, that's going to be where you're starting to pare down, your metabolism. But another thing to remember too, when you're giving birth, like some of that weight's just going to fall off naturally because, you guys gain so much weight during your pregnancy. So don't be in such a rush. I mean, you want to be in a situation where you're able to put on some muscle and lose the fat at the same time. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it about shrinking your waist or losing belly fat?
Losing belly fat, shrinking the waist. But
shrinking the waist and losing belly fat are two different things. You can't actually shrink a waist.
Yeah, you can't spot reduce fat. That's what I talked about on the TikTok video that I made. Mm-hmm. You can't spot reduce fat. You can't just, do core workouts like what you see on YouTube, like a lot of clickbaits here that lose your belly fat in 7 days by doing this core exercises. You can't just target this, do a bunch of crunches, and that's how the belly fat is going to go away. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. When you lose fat all over.
But what you can do to give the illusion that you shrunk your waist is actually put on muscle in your shoulders and in your hips and your legs. Because if you get bigger legs and you have bigger shoulders, naturally it's going to make your waist, the middle of your body, look more tapered because you're bigger up top and you're bigger down low. So now the middle is going to seem skinnier.
Yeah, my waist actually didn't get smaller.
But it looks like it.
Yeah, but back then, before I started training, my waist was 23 inches. Now it's 26 and a half. Mm-hmm. But I have the illusion of a smaller waist because I have built my legs and mm-hmm. I am now working on my upper body.
Yeah, she never worked out her upper body. So that's another thing too, right? There's a lot of women come into this and they're like, I just got to build my legs. I want to build my legs and I want to get a smaller waist.
Legs every
But they
day.
never think about up top. Like what really gives that illusion of a smaller waist is having a bigger back and shoulders. Yeah, if you can build a little bit of lats and some shoulders, that's what's going to really give you that tapered type of look.
And don't be scared off by him saying bigger back and bigger shoulders. You're not about to look swole, baby.
You're not going to get huge. I promise you.
For real. All right. This next one is how we built my glutes in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. This was about 3 months, and this is the most progress I have seen personally with my butt. Because I've been working out for 8 long years, and the only thing that was growing was my quads. I was very quad dominant, and I was like, how do I get my butt to look like yours? Period.
So, I mean, I think this time the difference was you actually committed to the bulk.
Oh, yeah.
We tried the bulk before.
I got scared.
Every time she gained weight, she got scared and was like, oh, I'm getting too fluffy now, I want to cut. And it's like, you didn't really allow yourself to grow, right? So it's like we do it for a month and you're like, I want to cut. So I would just say committing to the bulk. So you were in a calorie surplus of what, like 400, 500 calories?
Yeah. In my first
and
bulk,
we kept going up.
Yeah, I was 2,600 calories.
Yeah. So we started, I think you started at like 21, and then, every couple weeks you put on some weight and you got stronger. So we kept increasing it by a couple hundred calories every few weeks. And that's what really led you to not only, get stronger, but also put on the muscle you were looking to put on.
Yeah, your girl got strong, and it was nice.
We were also in a strength building program at the time. So she was lifting like really, really heavy. So the focus, as much as it was on getting thicker and growing muscle, the focus was getting stronger.
Getting stronger.
Yeah.
The effects of getting stronger is building more muscle, and that was a fun time. I can't wait for that phase again.
Yeah.
But I have seen the most results in that short amount of time because I was doing my glute activation. I'm telling you, I'm very quad dominant. I do glute activations every day. And we
call it like sleepy butt syndrome.
Yeah.
So making sure that you activate your glutes before you actually go into those squats. So if you're naturally quad dominant, she does a lot of glute activation. So her glutes are actually turned on. They're feeling a slight burn before she actually gets into her squats. And that allows her to connect to that much, much more.
Yeah.
And then we also built in we put in much more hip thrust this time.
Yeah, I feel like I hip thrust every day as a warm-up just to really wake up my glutes because I have a really hard time feeling them. I always just feel my quads, and for me, it's very easy for me to grow my quads because that's all I feel.
Even in the hip thrust though, right? You were feeling your quads in the hip thrust, so you lightened it up and really just focused on only moving the bar with squeezing your glutes.
Yeah, we actually have a video that we recorded for hip thrust because I used to feel my hip thrust on my quads, and I'm like, baby, I'm trying to grow my booty. I'm not trying to feel these hip thrusts on my quads.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a lot of times, when people get into this, they're like, I'm doing squats, it doesn't work, I'm not feeling my glutes. It's like, you have to teach your body to do the movements and fire it in the way that you want to. It's not everybody's body's not built the exact same way. For me, for instance, when I do squats, I never feel my quads. I only feel my glutes.
Yeah, I'm so jealous.
I have long femurs, so that's just the way my body's built. So when it comes to being built like she is, she's got a much better looking squat than me, but mine's going to produce more glutes than hers does. Just because of the way my body's built. So she had to
oh my God.
do extra things.
We have to show that that meme that I posted, how my husband's ass looks versus mine.
What is that?
The Mike Wazowski one.
Mike Wazowski.
Oh my God. Let me show you.
No, bro. You're not going to show me right now.
No, I'll just insert here because this is how I feel. You didn't see that? I tagged you. I shared it with you. Oh, we didn't see. All right. Our next topic that we're going to talk about is falling in love with a journey, not the destination that you're trying to go. Because for me, I wanted to talk about this because for me, when I first got into fitness, I'm telling you, I hated working out. I know you're probably feeling the same way. You feel like you're dragging ass to go to the gym and work out. I used to feel that way. I used to always miss working out, just not go because I just didn't feel like it. It wasn't fun for me. I was just working out to look good. And that's it. I'm just trying to look good back then.
So I mean, that's where a lot of beginners start. And I would say my journey was a bit different because when I first started, I started lifting for football. So my outcome was never to look good. It was always performance based. So I think when you go from beginner to more, intermediate advanced, it becomes much more about performance, how your body's, if you're getting stronger, you know, being able to put on the muscle later. To me, like aesthetics has always been a side effect. So like when I first started working out, it was always like, okay, I want to get ready for the season. So I want to get stronger in this, this, and this because I'm going to get faster, or I'm going to be able to jump higher, or I'm going to be able to, you know, make more plays or get off blocks better. So that allowed me to delay gratification. It wasn't like I was going to check the mirror all the time. It was like, okay, I know that if I just put in the work now, when the season comes, you know, I'm going to be that much better. So I was able to take that mentality to when I retired. And it's like, okay, this is the same process. Like, I'm not even necessarily focused on looking good. I just want to be healthy and still be able to move and still be able to be strong. And then, you know, naturally, while you go through that process, your body's going to start to look better because you're healthier, you're eating right amount of protein, but the focus is always on the performance aspect. And I think for you, where the big shift came, you know, once we lost the weight in the beginning, your goals started to change. It was like, yes, you wanted to be thick, but you also wanted to be able to squat 2 plates.
Yeah.
You know, you wanted to be
stronger.
Yeah, so you started focusing on more of the performance aspect and falling in love with the journey and looking for the results in other places than the scale, right?
Yeah, so if you ask me now why I'm still working out, why I never miss a workout, because listen, it makes me feel really good mentally, physically. I move better. I'm able to carry loads of laundry. We have 2 flights of stairs in this house. I'm able to carry it with ease without nothing hurting in my body. I'm able to go on these long walks and keep up with my son. I'm able to carry him for long periods of time without huffing and puffing and not telling him like, buddy, I can't carry you because mommy's tired. Like, mommy has, like, I always have so much energy, and that's why I am doing what I'm doing now, like still working on myself, still working out, like, you know, taking care of myself, because it's so important, because it trickles down to literally everything that we do.
I mean, for me too, it's like you know, being a former athlete, it's like I don't necessarily want to feel like washed up or like, you know, like a has been, or like that's a big humbling experience to not be able to move in the same way or not be able to have the strength you once had. Especially, you know, now I got a son. It's like I want to be able to be the superhero that he thinks that I am. You know what I mean? So it's like if he thinks daddy's strong, it's like, yeah, daddy is strong. You're right. I am strong. So I want to be able to be that. But also like when we're playing and stuff, like if he's running in the park, I don't want to feel like, you know, if he gets too far away, I don't know if I can catch him. Like, I don't know if I can keep him out of danger. So there's a lot of other aspects of this, especially when you bring kids into the mix. It's like, what if somebody snatches him? Or what if somebody tries to hurt her? Or, you know, all these other different situations where if you're not in shape, if you're not strong, if you can't move, if you can't react, you know, now you're stuck and you're left to chance. And I never want to be able to feel like, or be in a position where I feel like I couldn't have done something, or I can't defend my family, or I can't, you know, go catch my son if he's running towards something that's dangerous, or being able to, you know, protect you on a daily basis. That's what motivates me. So it goes from, you know, being in a situation where I want to work out to perform on the field to being in a situation where I just want to be ready for whatever life throws at me in this, you know, there's no telling what can come up.
Yeah.
And the same goes for you. Like, imagine if you were weak and you couldn't, like, you know, we've boxed, we've done Muay Thai, so it's like...
I can fight this guy.
Well, I don't know if you can fight me, but still, I feel much better knowing that, you know, not necessarily saying I would want you to be in those situations, but it makes me feel much better knowing that, you know, if someone was coming to chase you, like, you stand a much better chance.
I got stamina now. I can run. Like, back then, I could run for like 2 minutes and that's it.
So I know you stand a much better chance now, right? To continue to, yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. All right, this one is, okay, so this topic is something that I'm super, thank you.
Your hair keeps getting cut.
I know, my hair is just like wild right now. This topic is something that I'm super, super passionate about. And this is about like, no. How do I go into this? Okay, so this topic that I'm about to talk about is something that
You
I'm
could have
really
just transitioned into it from the last topic.
what?
Because that last topic kind of spills right into
Right,
this
that's
one.
true.
Yeah.
I could just say, well, so that with that being said, what is that? With that being said, so with that being said, I tell this to everybody. I even tell this to my parents. Like, what is gonna be the wake up call for you to start taking care of yourself?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And I've just seen my family go through this, and hold on, like I'm like overthinking this topic because I've talked about it so much. Oh my god, what the heck? I'm like like what's gonna be what's I shouldn't have talked about this a lot. So what's gonna be the wake up call for you to start taking care of yourself?
You can just talk about like what's your why. Because I was talking about being prepared for life.
Wait. No, it's not. That's not like the way I was trying to go to this one. But yeah, what's gonna be the wake up call for you to start taking care of yourself? Like when you're at the doctor's office and the doctor is telling you that you have to take all these medicine now, or when it's too late. Because I just want to share a personal story. So both of my lolas has passed already, and the only time that I've seen them really worry of what they put in their body and start taking care of themselves when it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
They started, watching what they eat when it was too late, when there was already a timer, when he was dying already because he was trying to save himself.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, it's like when we're not taking care of ourselves and we get sick, we're not the only one that suffers. Your family suffers, your kids suffers, everybody around you suffers when you don't take care of yourself. So taking care of yourself is not selfish. Taking care of yourself is a part of taking care of your family.
Mm-hmm.
And I really could not stress this enough. I tell this to our women all the time. If you're not taking care of yourself, this trickles down to how you want to be as a mom, how you want to be as a partner, and it's just sad.
For sure. I mean, most of these, diseases, ailments, things where you got to take medications, any of these things, 85% of them can be taken care of just by proper nutrition and working out. And that's always what the doctors say when it's like you're getting up to pre-diabetes or you're starting to, whatever it is, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, whatever those things are. If you just worked out and ate better, it would take care of all that stuff. So a lot of people, they do it, they're being reactive instead of being proactive. And that means, now the doctor tells you, you got diabetes. So now you got to start watching what you eat. So now all of a sudden it's like, okay, I have to start watching what I'm eating or I'm going to die. When you've had years and years to watch what you eat so that you never have to have that conversation with your doctor. So you can be proactive about it and make sure that that never happens to you. So, I mean, she's had her grandparents die. My grandparents died the same way from the diabetes. But my biggest fear is what they're calling now type 3 diabetes, which is the dementia and Alzheimer's that you get as a result of having diabetes, which to me would be a nightmare, right? You've lived this whole life. You're putting together all these memories. You got kids, you got grandkids. All of a sudden, you don't have access to any of that. And you're just here existing as a shell of your former self because you didn't want to. Just swipe it, bro. Everybody swipe it. Because you didn't want to take care of yourself when you had the chance to, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of what we talk about, a lot of people, will come to us or approach us when they're like, my doctor said, my A1C is getting high. I got to start, taking care of myself. I might get diabetes. I have a history of diabetes. And it's like, why are we waiting for that conversation to happen before you want to start taking care of yourself? Like, what's stopping you at the end of the day? That's always my question. Is like, what is stopping you from getting started with this? It's not really like you can take baby steps getting started with this.
And when you tell people to start, not tell people when you tell people to start, changing what they eat, but then they don't want to, they're being super stubborn, like, they're being super stubborn and they're just saying like, oh, okay, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I see that a lot.
Right, and
I
but
see
you,
that a
you
lot.
throw kids into the mix, and it's like all of a sudden, that long time becomes much much shorter, or that good time becomes much much less, attractive, because now you're here for a good time, not a long time, but now you have this kid who's going to be here for longer than you, hopefully, right? So you got to make sure that you're here and you want to be around for your kid as they have kids. So it's like, okay, now your mindset's starting to change a little bit. But it's like, if you started taking care of yourself before that, then you can have a good time and be here for a long time. It's like, well, who's saying that working out and eating better is not a good time? Like, why is that not a good time? Like, we eat, ice cream and pizza too, but we don't eat it every single day. We're not eating, burgers and fries every single day. We know the effect that has, but it just is about becoming educated about that stuff, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. I think there was another piece I wanted to add to that.
This is a really good topic. It's very important. I have always wanted to talk about this and spread awareness, because I don't think people are aware. I don't think a lot of people are thinking this far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, I don't want to live a life where I am taking a bunch of medicine just to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be moving weak. I don't want to be having pains in my body as I get older. I don't want to live that life.
Mm-hmm. Especially women too. Like, when you think about it, like, your bone density starts to go down. Like,
yeah.
Men too, but more so women. As you guys get older in age, your bone density starts to go down a lot. And the number one thing that fixes that is resistance training.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you keep waiting around, that's when things like your bones start to break and these type of
brittle.
things too.
I don't want to become brittle.
Brittle, fragile, as you get older. So, I mean, there's a number of things to think about. But I mean, a lot of times too, when people start this journey, and this goes back to the other point that we were talking about, when you're only focusing on the look and the aesthetic of it, it's like, let's say you got into this fitness journey, right? You were like, okay, I want to lose 40 pounds. And that was your only goal. And then you lost the 40 pounds. Now all of a sudden you've arrived at your goal. So what's next? Now you stop, right? Because a lot of people do that. They hit the goal, then they stop, and then they go in the other direction. They gain the weight back, and they go in this back and forth, because they were only focused on the superficial, the subjective goal, instead of focusing on falling in love with taking care of yourself, which at the end of the day should be the goal. Yeah. Because everyone deserves to feel strong, feel healthy, feel happy, right? So a lot of times people are only focused on that. That's why I'm so big on making sure that not only for us, but for our students, making sure you're focusing on the journey, right? You got to make sure that once you hit that goal, that's not the end for you. You want to make sure that you're continuing to do this stuff. Find a new goal. If you lost the 40 pounds, okay, what's next? How strong can you get, right? How much better can you get at whatever lift that it is? If you want to be able to build some strong legs, do that. If you want to be able to, increase your endurance, do that. I mean, there's a number of different things that you can set as your goal, but when you only focus on that one thing, like we have clients right now that are super hyper focused on the scale. We have one in particular. This woman has not only reached her pre-pregnancy weight, she's lost multiple sizes in, clothes and dresses.
She looks amazing.
She looks incredible now at this point. But she steps on the scale, all of a sudden the number on the scale doesn't align with where she wants to be, and then now all of a sudden she's discouraged, right? Which is what happens to a lot of people when they come into this journey. Instead of taking the wins that you lost so many sizes, you look so great, you got beyond what your pre-pregnancy was. Now the focus is, the number didn't hit where I wanted it to hit. And now it's a huge letdown, right? Now you're discouraged, and now it turns into something else. Yeah. But I think what needs to be thought about is like, why is that number so important to you? What changes in your life when you hit that number, right? As opposed to What changes in your life now that you're happy, now that you're healthy, now that your confidence is up, now that your clothes are fitting better, now that you're much, much stronger. These are the much, much bigger pieces and the much, much bigger things that should be focused on when it comes to this journey.
Yeah, I used to be fixated like that too on the number of the scale.
Yeah. And the scale is such a small, the scale will lie to you so often.
Yeah.
It could be, you didn't go to the bathroom, right? Take a big dump, 3 pounds off the scale right there, right? It could be water weight. It could be, you guys' time of the month. It could be anything, really. So, the scale is a very, very small measurement when it comes to the overall journey. It's like, okay, you didn't lose a pound this week, but did you get stronger? Yes, I got stronger. Okay. Is your clothes fitting better? Yeah, my clothes are fitting better. It's like, okay, then what are we worried about? Right? Because, the scale is just one thing. So think about the whole piece that you're working on. That'll keep you much, much more motivated to do this long term. But also when it comes to, all the things that you're talking about as far as diabetes and ailments and things like that. If you went for a check-in and your doctor told you you're pre-diabetic, then you start working out. Let's say your weight on the scale didn't necessarily go down, but now all of a sudden your clothes are fitting better, your muscle content has gone up. The muscle is going to allow your body to deal with insulin much, much better, which is going to lead to a much better result when it comes to that pre-diabetes diagnosis, which at the end of the day is going to reverse those numbers when you see the doctor. So those are all things that come into play when you're talking about doing this for health and longevity reasons.
Wow, that's really fucking good.
Thanks, man.
Don't leave me hanging.
Oh, I didn't see you. My bad. I was laughing.
That's really good. I enjoyed watching you. Wow, informational. All right. All right, so the next thing that we're about to tackle here is macros, how to figure out your macros when you're trying to lose weight. So this has been a big question in our Instagram. I'm gonna, so many questions. I need to learn how to calculate my macros, because a little backstory here. Back then, I used to love looking at other people's calories, influencers that looks freaking ripped, has a slim waist, big booty. I was and they're eating about 2,600, 2,800 calories. And I was okay, for me to look like that, I just need to eat like them.
It's a natural reaction.
Listen, I copied the macros, copied everything to a T. And baby, listen, I gained weight. And not on my ass, right here. I gained weight on my face, my stomach, my arms. And it's because that my body back then didn't have enough muscle to be efficient enough to burn these calories. Mm-hmm. So these women, these influencers that I'm seeing on Instagram, they have built enough muscle for their bodies to be able to efficiently burn the calories that they're intaking every day.
That's a huge trap. You see it all the time with these what I eat in a day.
Yeah.
And you're seeing all these calories damn, she's staying so lean and she's eating like that. And then it's okay, well, I shouldn't restrict myself then. But it's you got to be able to build your body to the point where it can handle those things. And that's why we're so big on building your metabolism. So back when she first started, this was before we were working together, right? So, she would do these things, but she didn't take into account okay, I don't have as much muscle as this woman. And that is the ultimate determining factor for how many calories that you can handle. So when it comes to, setting your calories, setting your macros, you got to think about, okay, what's this woman's BMR versus my BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. So this is the amount of calories that your body can burn while you're at rest. So how many calories your body burns just existing. So if you were sedentary, you were sitting around, this is how many calories it would take for your body to continue to function. So your organs, your breathing, everything it takes for your body to just be. So then you throw on top of that your TDE, so your total daily energy expenditure. So this is how much it takes for you. So let's say if you went from sedentary to now, you're walking every day and you're on your feet all the time, or you're doing some workouts. Now that calorie amount is going to go up a bit. So she was looking at someone who was working out 5 times a week, had a lot of muscle. And, she was, at the time, what was she in a surplus? She was bulking?
I don't know. That's I think it was maintenance for her.
Okay, so it was maintenance for her. So she hadn't boosted these numbers for herself yet, which is why she put on body fat instead of just putting on muscle. So when you do these calculations, there's tons of calculators out there. You can just go to
Right, the TDEE
calculator.net, something like that. And you can just type in with your height, your weight, your age, gender, and it'll give you a rough estimate. And that's a good place to start. And then if you go down, it gives you like a macro breakdown, right?
Yeah.
But an easy place to start is just 1 gram. I would say anywhere from 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And then if your body weight is on the, more on the higher side, or you're in the obese range, then you want to start looking at your lean body weight. So if you're like, 200 plus pounds and you're shorter, then we want to start to look at the lean body weight. But a good place to start is 1 gram per pound of your body, 1 to 1.5. And the first thing you should focus on is protein. Most people are under-eating protein.
All of our women in the beginning under-eat protein.
You used to be the same exact way.
I was the exact same way. I was heavy on the rice, and I was probably eating about 50 grams of protein per day. But now I'm eating roughly about 180 to 188.
It's a huge deal. It's a very, very big deal on both sides. When it comes to muscle building and fat loss, like protein is essential. You got to make sure you have the protein. On the fat loss side, you want to make sure that you're sparing as much muscle as possible while you're losing this weight, or else you're losing muscle and fat, and that leads to you being skinny fat and reducing your metabolism. So you want to be able to keep up your muscle content while you lose weight. And then on the other side, when you're bulking, you want to make sure that you have enough protein to rebuild these muscles so that you can put on muscle instead of putting on just body fat. So, I mean, there's a lot of different benefits for protein, but that is the number one place to start. Carbs and fats are usually interchangeable unless you're, trying to prepare for a specific show or photo shoot or whatever like that. But, those are typically interchangeable. Protein is the number one thing you got to make sure that you're focused on so that you can do the things I just went over. So that's where we always start with our clients. And if you're just getting started with this, you'll get huge results just off of that small piece of information right there.
Yeah, our clients in the beginning are seeing like fat loss, weight loss in the beginning without even really tweaking their macros. Like we tell them to focus on hitting your protein goals, and they see big changes.
And there's a couple reasons for that, right? Like if I told you to do nothing else but hit 1 gram of protein per pound in your body, this would do a couple of things. Number one, you're going to be much, much fuller, on each meal, which is going to allow you to not, binge on chips and cookies and all these other things, because you're going to feel much fuller throughout your day. Protein actually burns 20 to 30% more calories than fat and carbs do. So there's that aspect. And then all the muscle building things that we talked about. So, I mean, all of these things are going to start to change your habits throughout the day. So just by focusing on changing the amount of protein you eat, you can knock down a lot of dominoes with that one specific thing.
I know. This is why when I posted that what I eat in a day video, I had to put that in the bottom. I'm like, these are my calories. These are my calories. And that's when everybody said, like, okay, I need to know how to calculate my macros.
It's also why it's important to track your meals.
Yes.
So she was trying to guess in the beginning. It's so, if you've never done it, if you've never tracked your meals, it will blow your mind.
I know a lot of people are against tracking in general.
But I mean, I will always stand by tracking, just because how are you going to, you can't intuitively eat if you don't know what these portions look like. You got to know what 4 ounces of chicken looks like. You got to know, with 6 ounces of beef, you got to know what these look like on your plate, or else, you're just left to chance. Most women will underestimate how much something weighs. Like, I know when she was first starting, she was like, oh, this has got to be, 4 ounces of chicken. And then we put it on the scale and it was 2 ounces of chicken. It's like, that is a big deal. You got to make sure that you have that. And then on the other side, you'll overestimate your protein, and you'll underestimate how many carbs you're eating. So if you look at the rice that you have on your plate, it's very easy to be like, oh, that looks like just about a cup, or it looks like about a half a cup. And then you put it in a thing, it's like, oh, that was 3 cups. Or, oh, that was 2 cups. And it's like, that makes a big difference.
And with like nut butters.
Almonds.
Oh my God.
Almonds, nut butters, like these things are huge.
You just put a slab of peanut butter
Yeah.
on your toast. Oh my God, I see a lot of women do that. Like they would put it in their smoothie, like a slab.
I see a lot of times they'll take the tablespoon and they scoop it out, and it's like this much over the tablespoon. It's like, yeah, it's about a tablespoon. It's like that was like 2 or 3 tablespoons, which is a big deal. When you're thinking about it, you're like, that's not that much. But if you actually tracked it, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter is like 90 calories. So if you had 3 tablespoons of peanut butter instead of 1, now you have what? 180. You're at like, over 300 calories.
Yeah.
Or almost 300 calories in that 1 scoop. But we had one client in particular who she was getting great results. And then, a few weeks into it, we saw her results stop. And we were like, yo, what's going on? Like, you haven't been tracking your meals. So I just wanted to, ask you, what you've been eating. And she was like, well, I've been getting hungry, so I've been snacking on almonds. I knew what this meant, but she didn't know. So I was like, what do you mean, like, snacking on almonds? And she was like, at work they have this bowl of almonds, and, when I walk by, I'll grab a few handfuls. So I was like, a few handfuls, like, how many times a day are you doing this? She was like, I don't know, 3 or 4. So it's like, when you look at what an ounce of almonds is, an ounce of almonds, if you put it on a scale and you weighed it out, an ounce is going to be, I think, like 12, 15 almonds. So it's not that much. So if you're grabbing it 4 times, 1 ounce of almonds has like 150 calories. So think if she grabbed that 4 times, that's
My dad has a tub of like peanuts, almonds, pecans, and he would just keep grabbing.
And it's labeled as a healthy food, and it is a healthy food if you have it in moderation. But if you've never tracked, now all of a sudden that 4 handfuls of almonds is 600 extra calories that you didn't account for on top of the macros that you were supposed to have. So it's no wonder that you gained weight. So if you never believed in tracking or you never wanted to track, now all of a sudden it's like, man, I tried healthy eating and I was eating almonds and I was eating all the healthy foods they told me to eat and I didn't lose weight. And it's like, okay, well, you didn't want to track so that you can get your body in alignment. At least this way you could be educated when you're making these decisions.
And the thing is, like, you can track in the beginning, and if it's not for you, it's just good to know what your portions are.
Right. Whether it's not, no one's saying to do this for the rest of your life, but there's been multiple times. And the point we want to get to with all of our students is when you're at a party, if you're out with friends, if you're eating out, like we were talking about at Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
Without that knowledge,
cheesecake.
You wouldn't be able to navigate those situations. Like if you never knew what these portions look like, it's very easy to overeat in those situations. Like Cheesecake Factory, we were talking about, or we went there one time and we looked at the menu because now they put the calories on there.
On the menu,
we were ordering avocado egg rolls as an appetizer.
Yeah, the dynamite shrimp.
Right.
I order, my favorite there is this lemon garlic herb pasta.
Uh-huh.
And
we were having bread before that when they bring it to the table.
Easily like 1,500 calories.
Oh,
in
more
meal.
than that. For me, it's
over.
It was about 3,000 calories. For the egg rolls alone was what, like 600 calories?
Yeah.
And when you look at it, it's like, there's 2 or 3 pieces on there. So it's like,
they were splitting the calories.
We would be splitting it, but it's still, when you add it up, it's like if that's 600 and I had 2 of those and you had 1 of those, that's 200 for you and that's 400 extra calories for me.
Yeah.
Then we had the bread, right? We had a couple slices of bread each.
Yeah, the brown bread
That's a couple hundred calories.
From cheesecake.
Right, couple hundred calories right there. And then the dynamite shrimp was another 600 to 800 calories. And we're nibbling on that, taking a couple pieces. So that adds up. And then you go and look at the entree. It's like my entree was 1,600 calories for one. And we're eating this in one sitting. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are going out to eat and they're like, well, I just want to live my life. And it's like, okay, well, if you know that you're going to Cheesecake Factory, you know that you're going out to dinner that night, why not account for that earlier in your day or earlier in your week so that those calories aren't taking you so far over what you should be eating to hit your goal?
And the cheesecake alone, baby.
One slice, 1,000 calories.
God. I was trying to find the least calories just to see. And the plain cheesecake was about 1,000 to 1,200 calories.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like, all of these things, if you never tracked before, it would, like, I don't know how you get to that point. You can't intuitively eat. without tracking. Even the term intuitively eating insinuates that you know what decisions you're making. So how can you make those decisions without knowing what's in the foods that you're grabbing, right? So a lot of people are so anti, tracking. I don't want to feel, I don't want to be weighing things out. It's so hard to do. It's not that hard. You just put it on there. You see the number you're supposed to have. You put it into the MyFitnessPal or whatever, other thing you want to use. You see what the numbers are. Then when those decisions come up, it's so much easier for you to make that decision, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's that one. Track your meals, man.
We just thought about what did we talk about? Like macros for losing weight?
Losing weight, gaining weight.
Okay. All right.
We
didn't touch base on macros for gaining weight.
Okay,
so now we're going to talk about how to figure out your macros if you're trying to gain weight, trying to build that muscle. We didn't tackle it. We just said
the number one thing is the protein, right?
Yes, number one thing is the protein.
So if you're looking to lose weight, you want to be losing, I wouldn't say you wouldn't want to aim to lose like 2 pounds a week, 2.5 pounds a week, which is a huge surplus. You're talking about, 750 to 800 calories deficit per week, which is a lot. I would start at like a 400 calorie deficit. That'll put you in a nice...
For losing weight?
For losing weight, yeah. That would put you in a nice weight loss range. You can even see, if you're a beginner, a 200, 300 calorie deficit would do you nicely too.
Yeah, that's what we started on, because you don't want to go on a deep dive for calorie deficit, because I don't know if you know how much you're averaging, because what if you're only eating 1,200 calories?
This is what I would say. If you are a beginner, you're just starting this out, what you want to do is establish maintenance first. You got to be able to know where your body will just break even, where you're not gaining weight, you're not losing weight, and then you throw in working out on top of that, you're probably going to be gaining some muscle. So that is a good place to be to start, because then when you go into your cut, it's much, much easier to do that at a higher calorie range. Like, say you're a beginner, right? You hop in, you go on this huge calorie deficit. Yes, you will lose weight, 100%. But you're going to plateau very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And then when you plateau, it's going to be much, much harder for you to lose more weight, because now you're at this place where if you keep cutting your calories, you're going to end up starving, right?
Yeah.
So we always err on the side of maintenance to even a surplus. For a lot of women who've been under eating, or a lot of people who've been under eating in general, we want to be able to build up how much you can burn, which means put on some muscle first, before we go into that deficit. So to use you, for instance, when Jasmine first started, she was breastfeeding, and then when she stopped breastfeeding, in order for us to see her lose weight, we had to take her down to like 1,400 calories? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So once you stop breastfeeding. But now, in order for her to lose weight, we can do that by taking her down to 1,900 calories, 1,800 calories. So she's eating more food now. And then myself, like, in order for me to cut, I can still eat 2,900 calories, 2,800 calories, which is still a lot.
It's much, much more sustainable. Like, you can really enjoy your life while still getting the results that you want.
Yeah, so I would say establish maintenance first. If you've been under eating for a while, or you've tried some fad diets, I would say go into a small bulk first before you introduce a deficit, so that you can put on a little bit of muscle. That's going to help you burn that fat and not hit that plateau much, much easier. But yeah, it's hard for me to say exactly where to start without knowing you personally. But a good place to start is calculating that on the calculator we mentioned, establishing maintenance, and then make your decision from there. But to come full circle, to get to a bulk, you still want to be able to establish maintenance first. But a lot of people will come into bulking and do crazy dirty bulks where you go 700, 800 calories over and just eat whatever. You still want to stay healthy. I think you can see a great amount of muscle gain with 300, 400 calorie bulk. But just know, like, as you're putting on the weight, that number is going to continue to go up. So don't think that if you're going from, let's say your BMR was 1,900 and you're at like 2,300 to start. If you start putting on weight, like, that number is going to keep going up as your weight goes up. So just keep that in mind as you go through this. That was one of the biggest changes we made with her as she was bulking. is, as her weight was going up, because it took us so long to get her to commit to the bulk. She didn't want to get too fluffy, so I was like, I'd have to hold her accountable. She was missing meals. It's like, you can't be missing meals if you want to do this properly, so we got to get these meals in. But then as we were going, what you're going to notice is your appetite's going to increase.
So that is a really good thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing. But it's one of the things that she didn't think. She's like, I'll never be able to eat 6 ounces of chicken. It's like, yeah, you just got to give it some time. But then naturally she started becoming more and more hungry. That's where we want to be. So take it up gradually as your weight's going up. Same way on the way down. So you just got to have a happy medium on both ends.
All right, guys. So this is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, hanging out with us. And if you're not part of the family yet, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button, the notifications.
If this video was helpful for you, you found value from it, go ahead and hit that like button so someone else is just like you can find this video too. It would help us out a lot, but it's also going to help out the next person that needs the same exact information as you do. So go ahead and hit the like button. Only if you saw value, though. If you didn't, if this was common information, do your thing. But our goal here is to make sure that we can make this as easy as possible for you guys. So if you have any other questions, drop a comment down below. We'll make sure we cover it maybe on our next episode or the episode after. Until next time.
Bye.